Viewed her as much more dangerous with white than with black. So, okay, we do see a king's pawn opening, a Sicilian defense. White's knight comes out. Will we see an open Sicilian? Magnus, he's been relying on the Sicilian a lot more in the last few years. And, okay, it's going to transpose to one of my favourite openings, the C3 Sicilian, the Alapin variation. And white just wants to build a pawn centre. Magnus now offering a trade in the centre. We do see some very quick moves. I'm surprised by that last one by Magnus. Against me in blitz, he always recaptured there with the queen in the centre, bringing his queen out early. But no, this one is very solid by black.
Seems he tries to avoid kind of possible draw options, and now the game moved to Tarrasch defense in French opening, kind of replacement, and black is gonna suffer a little bit with isolated pawn, but of course Magnus is hoping to get the direct initiative, delivering the pieces to the center. So we are wrong with Magnus' choice, yeah?
Yeah, so Magnus did bring his knight out, but not to the usual square. Actually, black's knight normally parks itself in front of the black king in order to prevent any checks. So Magnus, he's opened himself up to some possible checks right now.
Games. And top one, Daniel Dubov.
Okay, so Daniel Dubov playing
been implying, yeah.
Male players, Yevgeny, but...
A big decision by Magnus Carlsen, Jovanka.
Yeah.
Has this been played before? He's about to sacrifice a pawn.
And it looks like it might be slightly better for black.
Okay, better for black. Wow, so I'm slightly surprised by this, but she's just developed a piece, not choosing to challenge Magnus's idea, just bringing the bishop out, supporting the knight in the centre on the outpost, blocking this isolated pawn, and she's just saying, okay, she wants to be solid instead. But the reason I'm surprised is because now Magnus, at the very least, can just bring his queen out. Okay, he brings it in a different way, but he brings the queen out, and now there's no issue at all with black's position.
The opportunity to play a6, bishop a7, bishop b8, that's very famous trick for the isolated pawn. Yeah. Like to get the battery, we call it battery, on the long diagonal, giving the checkmate also on h2. You have to trade the dark squared bishops, especially. So it was the opportunity to give the check, rook e1, to develop the bishop, bishop e3.
You called it, Yevgeny. Magnus is going for a very similar plan to the one you mentioned. If we catch up with the game position, he's just dropped his bishop back one square. So he's hinting that he already wants to drop it back again and create this threat of a checkmate, and white's king actually lacks defenders around it.
So love it when you at home join in the action and they can see a developing move. And we love it when you're part of the fun and the excitement.
The show and following these fantastic chess players. Another move.
Yep, another move. So white did bring a knight out, develop that piece. Maybe the idea from Alexandra was to bring that knight over to defend her king on the next move. But Magnus has sensed the opportunity to trade a set of pieces in the centre, at least one set of minor pieces. And now white is going to get an isolated pawn, as well as black, in the middle.
Been really unsuccessful in this game.
But can she just simply smile and go, well, you know, the opening didn't really work out for me, and then regroup? You know, fix some of those weaknesses.
Yeah, in her defence, the pawn structure is pretty much symmetrical, so if she can exchange some pieces, if she can survive the next 10, 15 moves, then she'll probably be doing OK. But, yeah, just this one bad piece makes her position slightly inferior.
Not only developed a piece, but also when the knight comes to the square that Alexandra's placed it on, the bishop can actually centralise itself and start asking some questions like, OK, you're defending the king for now.
Maybe black's position is just slightly easier to handle. And Magnus, you can tell by the speed of his moves, he's just developing pieces. He brought this bishop out, now he's brought his rook to an open line. He's just improving easily, while Alexandra still has some questions to answer.
Like, feels comfortable at the moment for the reason there are no like direct threats. He will try to force Alexandra to take critical solutions.
Okay.
94,
yeah.
Almost there.
Very similar, yeah, very similar idea. And the reason you mention this move as well is because if Alexandra wants to trade pieces, which she probably does at some point, then this would at least allow Magnus to imbalance the position and, yeah, decent chances long term. So instead, Magnus has gone for a similar idea, planting his knight in the middle of the board. Now, white will never, ever take this knight because that would give black the bishop pair and allow black to change the pawn structure favourably. But instead, Kosteniuk brings her queen out. But Magnus will try and line it up. And, OK, slightly surprising, he's chosen to move this rook to the e-file, possibly just trying to avoid some trades. If he'd moved his other rook, which is maybe the more natural move, then this would have allowed white to challenge some rooks, and pieces would disappear, the advantage would disappear as well. So Magnus go and then moved it again for a second time. But then again, there are specific ideas behind it to justify that move. And now look at the central tension. Look at the pattern of these pieces, these knights, bit of symmetry there. Pawns symmetrical as well.
Yeah, I have to say, David, I really don't like what's just happened now, because I think Alexandra was too hasty to put her knight in the middle of the board. Looked good, but Magnus has kicked it back. And once the knight retreats, then Black can start doing this idea of actually start asking some questions on the dark squares.
He simply gained the tempo for something else. But Alexandra is more or less happy as well, yeah?
Yeah, look at this. Magnus is going on the attack. He's not holding back anymore. He's trying to launch a pawn storm on this king side. He's going to maybe push this pawn forward next, push this pawn forward, dislodge the white knight, get rid of white's best defender, and the attack is brewing.
Relaxed, let's say, relaxed position using the chair, comfortable, and now she's full in the game. She understands that like a couple of moves are gone.
And look at this, it continues, a pawn pushing forward again.
Is this uncomfortable now for Alexandra to actually get those pawns just thrown at you, basically?
This is terrifying stuff, Kaya. No one wants this kind of situation.
She can get in troubles, and she has to decide something with knight on f3, as far as we see. She played knight e2. She continues the idea, like trading the pieces, but it was like final warning call for her.
All the way to the right side once those lines are open. And, OK, I think...
Okay,
we see some trades, yeah, and then...
Before, very surprising, no?
Yeah, you're surprised that Black didn't just take the bishop pair and continue. I guess that would have involved a change in pawn structure. Magnus just wants to control everything, avoid any possible counterplay, and Kosteniuk struggling for any ideas. She's pushed her a pawn forward. OK, it wants to push forward and destabilize the black bishop, but maybe the black bishop wants to move anyway over the next couple of turns. Magnus just securing his king, securing the 7th rank that white maybe wanted to enter on later with some rooks or queens. And
there are all those threats on the board of just pushing those pawns forward.
Yeah, I think Magnus will play for the attack here. Some viewers at home might be wondering, why can't Black get greedy, just snatch off white's central pawn? And probably the answer is white. I mean, that is possible. Black can just go a pawn up if he wants, but why bother?
The interesting thing in chess.
Yes, I
checkmate
agree.
does end the game. And talking of checkmate, Magnus is lining up an attack against the white king. Look at that black queen and the black bishop. They're on an open diagonal. That black queen, I mean, how are you going to stop it entering?
Well,
Kosteniuk says she doesn't even want to stop it entering. Maybe there was no way to do that. Black can just win on the spot. Black can give a check. The king moves. Black can give another check. OK, I thought Black could just give another check, the white king moves, and then Black could just grab white's rook. There was a pin on the e-file, and Magnus would just have won a rook for free. But, OK, he's trying to break through. If that white bishop now moves, then Black's queen will just come down one square, and that's going to be checkmate. The white king is trapped. Magnus just putting his head in his hands, but he's got this game wrapped up. And OK, Kosteniuk does try and grab the pawn, as we showed. Black gives a check, and Black did capture a pawn. And just there's an unstoppable threat in the position, pretty much. Rook takes bishop. Next move, Black's rook taking the white bishop with check will actually unleash a discovered attack, against white's queen as well. The queens, they're on the same diagonal, and white's queen, at the very least, is going to fall. Black will capture it with his bishop or rook, and that's just game over. And OK, Kosteniuk does run away with her king. Again, plenty of winning moves here, but just OK, I was going to say either bishop takes bishop or a check first, and this is very effective. Magnus wins the white bishop, and OK, Kosteniuk resigns, a bishop down in a hopeless position.
All right. That is a very nice win for Magnus Carlsen in game 1.